You've probably heard of the Great Flood, Noah's Ark, but what if I told you that story is way, way older, and that in the original version, the whole thing started not because of sin, but because of a labor dispute? Yeah, you heard that right. Today, we're diving into this incredible Mesopotamian myth, the story of Atrahasis. So let's just jump right in with a question that kind of puts a modern spin on this whole ancient tale. I mean, what would happen if the gods, the ones holding the entire universe together, just decided they were done? Like they'd had enough and just went on strike? Because believe it or not, that is exactly where this story kicks off. Forget a grand, poetic creation of humanity. This whole thing starts with the gods themselves in a total crisis. We're talking a full-on divine labor dispute up in the heavens. Okay, so here's the setup. You've basically got two classes of gods. Think of the Anunnaki as like the senior management, and then you have the Igigi, the junior gods, and they were the ones doing all the dirty work. And I mean all of it. Digging cosmic rivers, clearing out canals, they were literally running the entire world's infrastructure. It was backbreaking, divine work. And get this, they did this for 3,600 years. I mean, can you even wrap your head around that? For millennia, they're just toiling away. Their patience wasn't just thin, it was gone. They had finally reached their breaking point. So what did they do? They didn't just walk off the job. Oh no. They downed their tools, picked up weapons, and marched right to the house of the big boss, the god Enlil. Just picture that for a second. The head god, surrounded in his own home by his entire furious workforce. They were demanding change, and they were not taking no for an answer. So, with a full-blown cosmic strike on their hands, the senior gods are scrambling, right? They need a solution and fast. And their big idea? Outsourcing. Yep. It was time to create a whole new kind of being, one designed for the sole purpose of doing all the work they didn't want to do anymore. This massive job fell to the goddess Belatili. So she takes some clay, she mixes it with a bit of divine essence, blood and spirit, and she molds the very first humans. 7 men and 7 women. Their job description? Super simple. Be the new workforce. Do all the hard labor, serve the gods, and just keep things quiet in the heavens. And you know what? For a little while, it worked like a charm. But, yeah, there's always a but, isn't there? The gods made one teensy, critical miscalculation. Their solution was, well, a little too good. Humans started multiplying, and then they multiplied again. Pretty soon, the whole earth is just buzzing with the sound of humanity. And all that noise, all that chatter, it goes straight up to the heavens. And Enlil, he's trying to sleep, and he just can't. It's driving him crazy. So now Enlil is sleepless. He's furious. And he decides this new problem needs a new solution. A permanent one. His logic was pretty straightforward. If the humans are making all the noise, well, you just have to reduce the number of humans. Drastically. And Enlil's methods were just brutal, and they kept getting worse. First, he sends down a plague. That thins the herd a bit, but it's not enough quiet for him. So next up, a drought. He just turns off the rain. For years, the fields are just dust, and with no food comes a horrifying famine. After 6 long years of this, things on Earth are an absolute nightmare. And the story? It does not pull any punches here. It gets really dark. People were so desperate, so starved, that they began to eat their own children. I mean, just think about that. The gods' brilliant solution for a labor shortage had turned the world into a literal hell. But believe it or not, even that wasn't enough for Enlil. The noise was still there, maybe a little quieter, but it was still there. So he decides it's time to just wipe the board clean. A final solution. But luckily for us, another god, Enki, the god of wisdom, had a secret plan. And this is where we meet our hero. His name is Atrahasis, which translates to the very wise one. And that name's going to be important. He's a human king, but he has this special line of communication with the god Enki. And what's really fascinating is that scholars are pretty sure this guy, Atrahasis, is basically the original version of Utnapishtim from Gilgamesh, who, in turn, is the forerunner to the biblical Noah. It's all connected. So Enlil gets all the gods together. He makes them swear a binding oath. And then he lays out his final plan, a massive world-ending flood. The goal? To destroy every single human being on the planet and finally get some peace and quiet. But Enki just couldn't stand by and watch his creation get wiped out. Now, he was bound by that oath. He couldn't talk to a human directly. So what does he do? He finds a brilliant loophole. He goes to Atrahasis' house, which is made of reeds, and he starts talking to the wall. Of course, he knows his wise buddy Atrahasis is right on the other side, listening to every word. And that's how he passed on the warning and the instructions to save the world. So, just like Enki warned, the flood comes. It rages for 7 days and 7 nights. And when the waters finally go down, the world is clean. It's a fresh start. But it's also a totally new reality for both the gods and the few humans who are left. And right away, we get this incredible, ironic moment. Atrahasis gets off the boat, and the first thing he does is make a sacrifice to the gods. And the gods? Well, it turns out they've been cut off from their food source, human offerings, and they are starving. The text says they gathered around the sacrifice like flies. In that one image, you see it all. They need us. Their total dependence on humanity is just laid bare for everyone to see. So Enmel's big plan was a total bust. They had to come up with a new arrangement, a new deal. So, okay, humanity gets to stick around, but the gods put some new rules in place to make sure our population and our noise never gets that out of control again. They introduced things that would limit human life, stuff like infertility, infant mortality, and even creating social roles like priestesses who couldn't have kids. It's a pretty dark solution, but it created this fragile new balance between us and them. And all of this really leaves us with a huge question to think about, right? In this story, was our noise just a bug, an unintended design flaw, or was it just an unavoidable part of what it means to be alive, to have free will, to grow and multiply? It's pretty amazing to think that thousands of years ago, people were already wrestling with this incredibly complex and, noisy relationship between a creator and their creation. Thanks for exploring it with me.